Well, Chetam, I would like to begin with you. The Rivers State House of Assembly wants Governor Fubara to probe what transpired during the emergency rule time, and especially, allocations being made, how they were being funded, because the belief is that there was no form of development during that time of the emergency rule, and yet allocations were released. Would you say that this is perhaps the lawmakers attempting to open old wounds or demanding for accountability and transparency on the part of the sole administrator?
Good morning, and thank you once again. It's important to note that the last 6 months have been somewhat terrible for our state and a sad one for the state, as it were. And we had a sole administrator come in and administer the state for 6 months. And within the 6 months, recall that the sole administrator suspended every ongoing project, all ongoing projects within Rivers State. The sole administrator suspended it. And there was basically nothing happening in Rivers State for the last 6 months. Even the project started by the governor and even the project started by the Wiki's administration, everything was actually suspended because the sole administrator insisted and said all contracts have been cancelled and came up with lots of other things the man did within that particular period. So if the House of Assembly is trying to probe these actions, is trying to probe money spent, monies received and money spent, I don't think it's out of place. I think it's very important because one of the most important things is accountability. And that's one problem we have in this country. People are no longer held accountable for their actions. People are allowed to do things and they get away with the things they do. So if the House of Assembly has woken up and they are saying that we want you to be accountable, we want this, want you to give account of the 6 months, how much you received and how much you spent, it's not out of place. It's the way to go. However, we must also make sure that this is not being done out of malice and out of witch hunt, because it could also be that there are other reasons behind this whole investigation. So they must also be careful that what they are doing is in the best interest of Rivers State. That's what is important, and that should be the focus at this point, because Rivers State has gone through a lot. We need healing. We need to make progress. And in making that particular progress, it simply means that every party involved in moving our state forward has to be careful with the things they do to make sure that we don't return to where we are coming from, because it's going to be disastrous if we return back to it again. So all these things, we have to be careful in dealing with it. Let me tell you, the sole administrator did a lot of things that were illegal and unknown to our laws within the time he held sway, including the last minute swearing in of the head of civil service that we saw happen in Rivers State at midnight, something that is unheard of. And you ask, what exactly are the interests this man was trying to protect? What interest? Is it the interest of the president? Is it his personal interest or the interest of the FCT minister? Because from the things we saw play out in Rivers State within the last 6 months, I can tell you for free that it's been terrible. It's unheard of. Even in the military administration, we have never had it this bad. Because the level of mismanagement we saw was really terrible.
All right, Mr. Ekpele, let me come to you with this assisting on this probe. Even before the emergency was lifted, some Rivers people were saying that that the administration of the emergency should be probed. Now, would you say that it should be left with the House of Assembly to carry out? Do they have the capacity? Or should, as some people have said, that the EFCC should go into the books in Rivers State and look into the books? So I need your thoughts on this.
Well, if you remember, both on your channel and several channels, I'm one of the persons that have called for a post-administrator's administration to be probed. We need to know what he did with our finances. We need to ensure there was no reckless spending. We need to ensure that the hard-earned resources of Rivers people are accounted for. And so if the State Assembly is calling for a probe, that's part of accountability. If he doesn't have anything to hide, that shouldn't bother him. That's part of accountability, In terms of how this can be done, Well, there are government procedures. There are government ways of doing things. But I think there has to be a holistic probe mechanism. I expect both the executive arm and the legislative arm and even the judiciary to join together and establish some sort of a probe committee or a probe panel. That's the right word. You know, while they are doing that, it doesn't stop EFCC from stepping in, because if funds have been siphoned, the earlier we step in to ensure that it's not mismanaged or sent out of the country or anything, the better. So I think we need to activate every arm of the law, the EFCC, the judicial inquiry or panel comprising of the judiciary, legislative arm, and the executive arm. However, I think what the State Assembly is doing is actually in the right direction, because they are the lawmakers, and so if they feel that the laws of the state have been violated one way or the other, it's in their place to call for that. You know, so I'm fully in support of the call for probe, because there were too many
All right, Mr. Epele.
appropriations.